Happy New Year, everyone. Today is December 31st, 2023. So we're pretty close to 2024. And I wanted to share with you my idea, which after all my research on the brain and memory, taking care of my mother, and art, I believe I have a really good, one of the best brain puzzles, ultimate memory challenges you can do for yourself. And I'm doing a bunch of looking on YouTube to see if anybody else has said this when it comes to art and everything else. So whether you're an artist or not, it doesn't really matter, right? If you just clicked on my video just for the answer to this one question, I'm going to give it to you first thing, and then I'll explain a whole bunch of other things afterwards if you want to hang out. If you do jump ahead, do me a favor and kind of, just jump ahead on your whole video line so it looks like you watched the whole thing. So my idea, which I think would be a best challenge for anybody's brain to try to figure something out, and it would be more beneficial for you than some other stuff like playing games and even crossword puzzles and stuff like that. They always say those generic things, that's a brain puzzle, is crossword puzzles. My idea is to try to draw something without a reference. So especially maybe a deceased relative. So if I try to draw one of my parents, right? Although I do have a picture of my father right up over there. So trying to draw him and just, we all know what they look like. So if you draw the eyes and you keep trying to change it. So if you're not familiar with Adobe Fresco, I'm a fan of Adobe Fresco. So if you have an iPad, Adobe Fresco is free. And of course that has all these little features, and it doesn't have any ads either, so that's one of the good things to it. But of course you could draw a circle or draw a shape of an eyes and then transform it. And if you don't like it, you just click double tap with your things and it's gone. But if you don't have that, you could still use a pencil and keep trying to draw anything. So it could be a chair. You know what a chair looks like. So if you look like even a recliner chair, things like that, just keep working at it without looking at a reference. Okay, so I finished telling you my idea. So now I'm going to give you the reasons why I believe that. So I'm Kayleen, if I didn't already say that before. And I wrote a book. I wrote a graphic memoir called Mom Remembers Me that I will be publishing and putting out in 2024 sometime. I've been working on how to figure out how to publish it. It's how I use my health and fitness knowledge to stop my mother with mild dementia from forgetting me. So I read a whole bunch of brain books, memory books, and there's so much incompetence and greed and groupthink when it comes to the healthcare industry, as well as the police and hospice. And I had a lot of problems happen taking care of my mother. That was not her fault. It was not her mild dementia. It was just, like I said, it was the incompetence and greed of the healthcare industry. So growing up as a kid, I liked art, but I didn't think I was good enough because I always thought the famous artists drew with just from their head without looking at something. And so I stopped. And that was one of the few compliments that my mother ever gave me growing up. But she also paid and drove me to art lessons at a museum. But later on, when I started getting back into art just to entertain myself and my mother and to take us places, because she hated to stay home. She absolutely hated to stay home, which is part of my book. This nursing home and probate court fought me for 2 months to get her out. They wanted to lock her in a lockdown unit. And I moved her to California. She learned my neighborhood. She learned my colleges. I was teaching at 2 community colleges. Now I'm only at 1. So she learned that. So how does that ever scream to you that she should be in a lockdown unit? It was all purely for the insurance money. So when I would go to paint nights a lot of times and bring her, and then I would copy what they were doing, and then I would bring my own paints and just tip the artists, and then bring my own little book, which I have like 3 big media books full, which I really enjoy looking back because I don't want to do them all on canvases. So that was a good challenge for her, and I would show her what I was drawing and what the instructor was drawing, so she could give a challenge for what was missing. That was because looking at a picture is actually more challenging for your brain than playing chess. So that's what I wanted to share with you. So then what I also want to share with you, what I truly believe is the best way what I call it, how I consciously am remembering my life. I want to make an effort. And as a teacher, I am judged by how well my students do. But if they don't make any kind of an effort, then I can't possibly win, right? As you probably have noticed, this video is going to be very low key. I'm not going to send all these images in and out. Number one, it's a lot more work. I don't know how to do it. I've tried it, and I don't want to spend my time doing that. But it kind of bothers me when I'm watching all these videos when you're listening to somebody talk, and then all these images come and go. I bet in time, and if anybody knows the answer to this and has actually seen a neurologist mention, but also when it comes to neurologists, I question a lot of that stuff too. But that's in my book. When all the images are coming and going, it's distracting you. So I challenge you to get out a piece of paper right now and just write down what I'm going to suggest to you. And I'm going to show you some of my ideas right now, low key. Not going to have all those images coming and going. I don't need, if the presenter says a waterfall, then see a picture of a waterfall. I know what a waterfall looks like, and you do too. So there's no reason for me to show you that image, right? Okay, so my idea, I have about 11 items that I want to just share with you that you can, if you're a bullet journaler or any kind of a journal at all, it doesn't have to be Ryder Carroll's journals ideas, then these are good ideas to help you with your memory. And actually, here is a picture of my mother and I that I have in my book, right? My mother was a pain in the ass. She was always a pain in the ass. We didn't really get along, but when it came to leaving her in that lockdown unit, I could not do it. And she didn't deserve to be in that lockdown unit, to be abandoned like that. So I'm glad I did what I did. And I will be forever grateful that it worked out, and she loved moving to California, and she loved the learning, just getting out. That's why I said she hated to stay home, because she couldn't see or hear or read, to concentrate, to stay home to watch TV or read and stuff. So she wanted to be out. So I took her on train trips, bus rides, just to entertain her, and it was fun. I have 150 pages books and lots of good stories in there, funny things, challenging things, challenges to the healthcare industry. I don't think that she truly broke her wrist when they said that she did. There's lots of examples in there. Okay, so the first thing on the first part of my list, you got your piece of paper out. I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to make you think. You write it down, because if you write it down, you will remember it. Okay, the first thing that I wanted to share with you is what I called, some journaler on some YouTube video suggested this, and a few other journalers have said it, but not as many as other things. Like the bullet journal community does this thing called mood tracking, which I don't understand how that really helps you. Your mood is dictated by a lot of things, so filling out the mood. So I don't do the mood trackers, but I do this monthly, what I call them thumbnail images. So I wanted to show you a couple. Right, so I've done bullet journaling since I started journaling. I did a lot of journaling, taking care of my mother, with lots of notes. I kept a composition book with me. I wrote down conversations with us. So this is one page. It's kind of a collage, and what I would do is just, if I wanted to draw something, I would just look at the internet. So this is, like I said, old school. And then my theme for this month was Woody Woodpecker. I've been doing classic cartoons. As you can see, whatever would happen, I would just do a little picture of it, cartoon picture. And what I also did is I would look at this, and the next page, I have what I call a memory key. So first I would look at it, see what the picture is trying to teach me, and if I can't figure it out, then I've got the memory key. And what I also do, if I don't always get to doing this every day, and sometimes it takes me half a month to even get to do it, and all of what I'm going to tell you is very time consuming, but I enjoy it. It teaches me, I'm remembering my life, and I believe that you have to make a conscious effort to do everything in life. As a teacher, when I have students say to me all the time, I've never been flexible, or I've never been good at names, what I always say back to them is, have you ever worked at it? So this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to work at it. So I've got my memory key here to double check. So you saw some of my pictures here, cute little pictures of what happened, sometimes like just funny things like this. So this happens to be I started using these spiral bound canvas books from Michael's, and then I would just take I have my vision board, my very first page, and I would take calendars. Now, calendars are beautiful, so why not take, and those are all, have the shiny stuff, so I just put that on the top of it. I could paint on it, like Torrin Marie is one of my favorite YouTubers, but she hasn't been doing it very much, but she has painted the covers, but that's a little thing. So I think I'll use, like this happens to be a Thomas Kincaid calendar that I put on this, so that's why I wanted to show that. That was one. So I can't change this because this has got my notes and now I lost where I was, right? That's the hazard of having so many notebooks. The other one I wanted to show you is, since I've kind of changed pictures and stuff, this is the other one. So this happened to be this month, December of 2023. I wrote some stuff. So what I started doing, see, I put the calendar half on the bottom and half on the top, so I would know what the day of the week was, and I've got the memory key on the next page here in case I can't remember, right? So I wanted to show you those two. That's the first thing on my list. You guys all have your list out, right? Okay, here, I've got my notes here. So the second thing is I keep a health tracker, and what I also keep on my journal a lot. So journaling writes is the best way to remember. So I keep a health tracker. Whenever I'm out walking, I write, then I come back, write how many minutes, who I spoke with. I do a lot on my walks around my hometown here in Northern California, home city really. And then I get a lot of little shopping done, going into ethnic markets, trying to figure out new foods to eat. I also have a food reaction tracker list in one of my journals. So keep kind of a health tracker and write down who you spoke to. Even when I go out and sit and talk to people, my conversations. What's kind of funny is they judged my mother on remembering, and I am extroverted. I go and talk to everybody all the time. I strike up conversations with everybody. 99.9% of the time, it's a good conversation. A few times people ignore me, but that's okay. I don't remember those times. I choose to forget those times. But then I write down when I came home and on my daily who I spoke to, maybe sometimes a little part of the conversation. Sometimes I'll see them 2 to 6 months later. They don't remember me or the entire conversation, and they're young. They're in their 40s or 50s. So I always think about, and I guess obviously their brain didn't consider it important. So our brains are only looking for what it needs and what it thinks is important. But the neurological tests that they tested my mother, they're asking her to remember 3 stupid words and recite them back, and that's not helpful. And then my mother had no motivation to ever please anybody. So what I also do too is my third thing. So you got 3 things: monthly thumbnail images. I showed you 2 of them: a health tracker, notes, and journaling on a daily basis of anything and everything. And also, I pretty much just keep to 2 journals. I have a couple other ones for yearly and permanent collections for other art ideas that I want to do. But I try to keep everything in 2. Even my book notes, my sketching, everything. And those just thoughts, creating, and even when I was for my book and everything, I don't want, my philosophy is I don't think that I will ever want to read like a whole notebook of all book notes. I think if I put it in between everything else, plus it also helps me with the timeline, I think I'll be more interested in reading it in the future when it's all in one book versus having one notebook for book notes, one for movies, something like that. So I call this a That's Entertainment spread. I put it in every single bujo. See, it's just, I was kind of printing up the little pictures from either Amazon or the internet, which I hate Amazon, but then I would have to cut them up and put them next to the pictures, and then that was too time consuming to cut up a little picture. So I wait till I fill up one page, print them all onto one page, print them all up, and put them like you just saw there. It's a lot less time consuming. And there's lots of times I look back at a movie or a book, even ones that I own, and I don't remember the entire movie. So my brain didn't think that was important enough. So okay, got that. Okay, what I also did, which I showed you guys here, 4th thing on my list I want to show you was what I decided to create a crossword puzzle of my own life. See, this is the empty one. So this is the empty one. I finished it all for 2023. In the answers, I have the answers on the previous page. So in years to come, I'm going to see how I do to finishing that. Look at that whole thing. That'll teach me, right? Oops, I came out of I had to stay organized here, right? So that's the crossword puzzles, number 4. Number 5 is I decided to also keep audio journals and video journals. So yeah, what I did a couple hours ago today is I spent an hour going through both of those, my bullet journals and all of my diaries. So I did 3 diaries for 2023 that I filled up. My favorite book that I use for my diaries, and like I got the calendars put around here, is I like the Dingbats, because Dingbats has a blank book. I got in the habit, I don't really like the dots anymore. So Dingbats has a blank book, and it's B5 size. So that's why it's a combination of, I draw pictures in here, journaling, you know, so sometimes when I copy pictures from books, you know, copy pictures from books, and what I also do on this channel is what I call graphic book reviews. So if you like, I got really into graphic books, taking care of my mother, and that's why I decided to write a graphic memoir myself. So that's what I want to do. I wanted to show you my video journals, right? Oh, that was showing you about the Dingbats. Sorry about that. Okay, another big thing, number 6, is this is called a voice tracer. And I know I could use it on my phone, but I really enjoy this, and I keep this with me a lot, and especially when I'm sleeping. I don't want to keep my phone on me when I'm sleeping. I turn off my phone every night. I am beginning to wonder about the Wi-Fi radiation, right? So, and then what I do a lot of times when I'm out walking, listen to audiobooks, is I listen to the audiobook. I'm listening to Comfort Crisis right now with Michael Easter, which is a very good book. So I listen to it, and then I say what I want to say, my key learnings, which I also have a key learnings page in my Bujos. Every single month I just keep a list of key learnings, but then if I have a lot of notes on a book, I'll write it on a whole page in my journal. But I really believe, so if I hear it and then I say it in here, and then half the time I'll hear it again and then write it in my journal. So between those times I remember more about that book. And I've seen some videos about creating little index cards with every single book, but I just think that this is better to have it in one book, but that's my personal preference. And then a lot of times I have actually tracked, even when I write things in here in my to-do list, I will go do it before I even hear it again. I think the act of hearing my saying it out loud has helped my memory. So I would challenge you, if you don't have something like this, and if I don't have this, or if I'm too lazy to turn on in the middle of the night when I don't want to wake up and wait for it to turn on, I'll just say it out loud. And I swear, I remember it when I said it out loud. And there are some memory information that says read a book out loud to yourself. There's plenty of other memory suggestions where it says write out a whole list. Rob Lowe even mentioned that in his book about how he remembered a whole monologue, right? I also, graphic book reviews, I mentioned that's number 7. So we're down to 7 on my list, right? We got monthly thumbnail images, health tracker notes, that's entertainment spreads, crossword puzzle of your life, right? Video journals, either monthly or weekly, or I just did a yearly one. Tracer for book notes, graphic book reviews. You could do your own reviews of any books you like. I see plenty of YouTubers do that. What I also want to share is I actually created a spreadsheet. I'm just using Excel spreadsheet, and every single index of every single notebook, I'll write it all into my spreadsheet, so then later on I can just do a search. And I am working on figuring out how to alphabetize it and print it, because you can't trust computers, right? Maybe in 5-10 years I won't be able to use the Excel spreadsheet and look at it, because they're always upgrading our computers, so we have to keep paying more money, right? What I also did is I just created a one big to-do list and I call it a tickler file. So if I order something, I'll write it down. Did I get that in the mail? So instead of, I put it on my to-do list. And so it's one big list. And as I fill it up the page, I just kind of jump ahead and to create another one. I don't do it per week or per month. That didn't really quite work for me. I mentioned about diaries. That's number 10. I added a page into my diaries of what I call in hindsight, because I think that's really beneficial. So if you remember a memory of your parents, especially if they're deceased or anything, it might not always be there. So write that into your journal. Write it down, maybe say it out loud to yourself, then you will keep it there. I don't think that it's always going to stay there. And then I'm kind of doing some research for my next book, and I'm going to reread all my journals that I've been doing for my entire life to answer some questions for my next book. And then I'm also going to have Lulu print up my Facebook posts to keep all of it, because the social book, I used to like my social book, but now they don't print the comments for some legal reason. I want the comments. I want to have a conversation, see what the conversations I was having with my friends about my stuff. So, okay. Again, this is Kayleen. Thanks for listening so far. It's only been 21 minutes, so I hope that you got a lot out of this. I would really appreciate a like and maybe a comment. If you could subscribe, that'd be even better. I've only got 50 subscribers, and you know how YouTube works. But Happy New Year, and I hope that you see me in the future, and I hope you have a great 2024 and 25 too. Bye-bye.